Bethuel was the son of Nahor and Milcah, and also the father of Laban and Rebekah in the Bible. If the sequence of names in the biblical text of the book of Genesis is based on the order of birth of the children of Nahor, then Bethuel was the youngest of 8 brothers. The exact meaning of the name Bethuel is uncertain, but some interpreters suggest that this name conveys the meaning of man of God, bringing the idea of someone who dwells in God, or God of God, similar to the meaning of Bethel. And in this video, we will know everything the Bible really says about the story of Bethuel. The Bible says that Nahor, Bethuel's father, was Abraham's brother. So of course, Bethuel was also the nephew of the great patriarch of Israel. And Bethuel became known in the Bible mainly because he was the father of Laban and Rebekah. Then when Isaac later married his cousin Rebekah, Bethuel became Isaac's father-in-law, as we read in Genesis chapter 24, verse 15, where the biblical text says, and stated that before he had just spoken. Behold, the members of the family nucleus to which Bethuel belonged eventually separated from the family nucleus of Abraham. When Abraham's family left the city of Ur dos Chaldeus, still as a unit, this family settled in the city of Haran, also in Mesopotamia. But after the death of Terah, the father of Abraham, future patriarch of Israel, continued to Canaan as the call of the Lord, and Lot and Sarai accompanied him. But Nahor's family branch remained in Haran with Arameus. According to scholars, Bethuel's family probably used Aramaic to communicate. Undoubtedly, Bethuel's story gets his biggest prominence in the Bible in the episode involving Isaac and Rebekah's marriage. The biblical text says that Abraham wanted his son to marry a Canaanite woman. So he held his main servant to go to the land of his parent Terah to find a wife to Isaac. This we read it in chapter 24, especially between verses 1 and 10. Although the biblical writer of the book of Genesis does not nominally mention the city to which the servant of Abraham was, most scholars agree that probably the city in question it was Haran. In any case, the biblical text is clear in saying that the servant of Abraham went to Mesopotamia, more specifically to the city of Nahor. Then the biblical text also says that Bethuel was a Padara warehouse. When the servant of Abraham came to that place, God arranged that he would find Rebekah, Bethuel's daughter. Then the servant of Abraham took care of officializing the arranged marriage between Isaac and Bethuel's daughter, according to the customs of the time. Here it is worth remembering that at that time, arranged marriages were extremely common among families. But no doubt, something that catches the attention of scholars in this narrative is the protagonism of the cunning and self-interested Laban, Rebekah's brother, in this formality, while Bethuel, his father, seems to have assumed a much more passive role in the negotiations. This means that Laban, the son of Bethuel, is quoted in the biblical text in a more prominent position compared to his own father Bethuel. In Genesis chapter 24, verse 50, we see exactly that when the biblical text says, "Then they answered Laban and Bethuel, and said, From the Lord proceeded this business. We cannot tell you badly or well." Note that in this verse, Laban's name precedes Bethuel's name, perhaps indicating that Laban exercised the main authority at that time. But why did this really happen? This is a somewhat complicated question to answer. Scholars have adopted different positions to explain this issue. Some argue that Laban had assumed the civil and religious leadership of the family because perhaps Bethuel was disabled. Others defend maybe Bethuel was already dead and his name was mentioned by the biblical writer only as a reference. Although very unlikely, those who defend this interpretation also cling to verse 60 of chapter 24 of the book of Genesis, where the blessing that Rebekah receives seems to have come from Laban himself. When the biblical text says, "And blessed Rebekah and told him, O our sister, if you are the mother of thousands, and may your offspring have the door of their hasslers, and may your offspring have the door of their hasslers." Finally, a third alternative of interpretation on this issue has been adopted by some scholars who, based on news documents, suggest that Laban played a prominent role at that time, according to the sisterhood customs that were observed in at least some parts of Mesopotamia. In any case, we know that besides this episode, nothing more is known about Bethuel. The Bible does not talk about his death. He does not even make any moral judgment of his person. We cannot say that Bethuel was a wicked man, and neither that he was a righteous man. The Bible simply does not bring any information about your conduct, your personality, or even details about your personal life. He is mentioned again in chapter 25 of the same book of Genesis, where the biblical text shows the consummation of marriage between Isaac and Rebekah, when in verse 20 we read, "And was Isaac of the age of 40, when he took a woman to Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, Padam and Warm, Laban's sister, wire of Bethuel." Another interesting information that is important to consider here, that besides being the name of Rebekah's father, the name Bethuel is also used in the Bible to refer to a city in the territory of Simeon in southern Judah. This city is mentioned by that name in the first book of Chronicles, but in other biblical passages, this same city is called other forms. In the book of Joshua, the city is called as Quizil and Bethuel, us chapters 15 verse 30 and 19 verse 4. Already in Samuel's first book in chapter 30 and verse 27. In any case, the exact location of this city is uncertain. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey at Path of Faith. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, share it with your loved ones, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content like this.